road and they're riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta share the road. So that thing where you drive along and there's someone next to you and you both sort of drift to the left.
Yeah.
I come in your lane a little bit, you go on the other side of the street. That's like Pro 1, skill level 1,
shit.
East Coast.
Yeah.
And they can't. Every time you do it, they they beep the horn. They freak out. It's like, dude, it's
around.
Use
your
second.
Eyeballs. Use your eyeballs.
But then they get on the highway and they're fucking maniacs. There's no the further left you go faster. It's whatever the fuck you feel like doing.
I feel like driving wherever I'm going.
Drive 40 miles an hour anywhere, past 90 miles an hour on the right. Like getting on the highway isn't hard. Getting off,
it's like Frogger.
Is fucking unbelievable. You gotta
click.
Yeah, like
totally.
Exorcist. Turn all the way around to make sure there's not somebody coming up doing 80 in the I get the furthest right hand lane. It's like that's the part. Like I'm a great driver, but I am terrified to drive on highways out here.
Yeah.
I just don't like it. There's too many cars. They're too close together, and there are no fucking rules.
No, there are no rules. No, it's like driving in like Malaysia.
Yeah,
like trying to get on a turnaround in Thailand. So you and I have known each other for a good part of our careers.
Please don't say the years. I've known you since
'96.
'96.
Why you got to do? See, I wasn't going to do
Remember
it.
that?
You did it to me. I do. '96. Yeah, that's when we met.
Yep. We had that stand-up comedy team for like 3 weeks, and it didn't work.
Yeah, well, you know.
I
mean, it had already been done. It had already been done with Dreesen and.
Somebody's going to believe that and
go try to look it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Burr and Tyler. Tyler and Burr. Trying to think of what that was.
That's why we broke up.
That's because we couldn't agree
come
on
up with
whose
a name.
should go first.
You have a great last name. I don't.
Ivory.
Yeah.
Burr's a good one. I mean, your name alliterates. You stopped calling yourself Billy a while ago. It's big.
I started with Bill, and then for 4 years I went just so it would flow better. But I just never was. I don't know how people beyond a certain age
call themselves Billy.
Can call themselves. I think it sounds good with the last name, but it's just like. I mean, I don't give a shit if somebody calls me Billy, but just like I didn't want it like on the marquee.
Yeah.
It
felt juvenile, like you were going to come
did.
out. Like,
and then there was something, and then my act too is just so
angry.
It's so angry. Here comes Billy. Let me tell you something about these gold digging whores. It just the whole thing. It's like I just really didn't feel like that was that's who I was. And then it also went back to that not being phony and having sort of a show busy name,
having an idea. Yeah.
And I was just like, why not? I'll just go by my regular name, and so it's. It's just something that I ended up. I'm really glad I went back the other way. Yeah. But like I said, if somebody says Billy, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like when I met you, you were in your Billy.
I was.
Those were the Billy years.
Yeah, the Billy
era.
Billy just moved to L.A. all wide-eyed. This is gonna
be great.
This is gonna be awesome.
Fresh scrubbed. He smells like soap and dreams.
Couple of failed pilots later. Hey, go talk to Bill. Stay away from Bill.
Bill's over there, folded up in a glass of Jack Daniels. Don't get too close. He bites.
Yeah.
And then you were in New York for a while. I mean, it's interesting because you are. I would say of a lot of the guys that I know, you're definitely a comedy purist. I mean, you started out a comic. You've done a lot of really great stuff. You've done a lot of TV. I mean, obviously, Chappelle was big.
You obviously didn't look at my IMDb page. There are major gaps in that. You ever see when someone tries to grow a beard and they can't? I have the IMDb page version of that. There's big patches.
Burns and the patch don't match. That's just burns and
mustache doesn't quite connect.
Chappelle and then one episode of Mike and Molly. But you've done some great stuff. But to me, one nice thing about you is you've always been a comedy purist. I mean, it's always been the center of your life and the focus of your life.
Right.
But you've also made a bunch of changes creatively. I mean, you were here, then you went to New York, and then what made you come back? I mean, like, what was that about? Like, because I never laid out a plan for the
I moved to New York. I'm from Boston. I did it 3.5 years, and I moved to New York. And like to me, moving to New York was the most exciting thing I could, and be a comedian to me was the most exciting thing ever. In fact, when I was in Boston and I would be doing gigs out in Worcester, which is in the middle of the state.
Oh yeah, I know Worcester.
You'd get on the Mass Pike, and there would be a sign that says Mass Pike to New York City, and I would actually get excited when I saw the sign, thinking someday I'm actually going to go to New York City to be a comedian. So I went down to New York, and I started that, and started from basically right bedrock, and just built myself up, and I wanted to become this great comic. And I ended up auditioning for a role on a sitcom, and ended up booking it. And that's like classic how Hollywood works.
Yeah.
Brand new guy. Let's give it to him.
Oh, yeah.
That makes
She's fresh. She's new.
Yeah, and it makes you feel like this business is going to be easy. So I did that. We lasted half a season, and then I was out in L.A. It was called Townies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. Right? Wasn't there a stand-up? Sometimes the police drive by.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a stand-up chick that was like the lead on that show?
No. That show had everybody on it. That show, Molly Ringwald, unknown Jenna Elfman, unknown Lauren Graham,
What?
Ron Livingston.
What?
I remember him telling me that he had a movie called Swingers coming out.
Oh my God, that's bananas. That is bananas.
Conchata Farrell, who's on 2.5 Men.
Oh yeah, crazy.
Yep. And here's another one. This is going to make people try to find the box set. The
box set of 6 episodes.
Yeah, 6 episodes if they ever put it out. What's his face? Somebody had a 3-4 episode arc of dating Jenna Elfman, and it was the dude who ended up being the star, Eric McCormick of Will and Grace.
That's crazy. That's bananas.
Yeah, so this is the thing. So that thing ended, and
you would come out here to do that. Obviously, you come out to LA
to do that, and then my focus switched because I got a taste of that sitcom life, which is beautiful.
The money and the work.
And the hours.
The hours are so lean.
4 camera shoot, you're in and out in 3 hours.
Yeah, not only that, but you come in for an hour on Monday, you read the script, couple hours Tuesday, do a little blocking, Wednesday you try on some
run
clothes.
through. Run through
so
Tuesday is the producer run through.
Yeah.
Wednesday's network. Thursday camera blocking. Friday you shoot it, and then you're having drinks, eating quesadilla afterwards, and then it starts all over again. And you go 2-3 weeks, and then you get a week off hiatus, just in case you're tired.
Yeah, rest your face.
So the problem was, I won the Super Bowl as a rookie.
Yeah.
So I couldn't appreciate it. And
not only that, but then you set a totally high level of expectations. Anybody in any business, and the rookie example is perfect.
Yes.
Where all of a sudden you're like, but I'm a winner.
Yeah.
I was born to this life. This is just going to keep happening like this over and over again.
Right. And then the thing went off the air, and then for the next 2.5 years, I struggled with my true want of wanting to be in New York and trying to become a great comic.
Right.
And then also having this Hollywood thing in my head, like, well, I was on a sitcom, I need to be on another one in order to feel successful, and I struggled with that.
Well, and that's what's expected of me. If I don't get another one, I'm going to be a failure on some
Everybody's
level.
talking about it. Everybody gives a shit about me, Aisha. Everybody cares about what Bill's doing, right?
I hear people were tweeting me, so we were watching Bill. Seems like he's pulling in to do your podcast. So
in '99, I finally said, fuck it. I just knew that if I was going to get anything in this business, it was going to be through stand-up, because I felt like I could be a great comedian. I knew I could be a really good actor, but I had to pick a line that I was going to stand in. And at that point, I was watching guys like Chris Rock, one of my favorites, watching him get all this stuff because he had, just the best hour.
Oh, yeah.
That, I still don't know if someone's put out an hour that's really fucked with Bring the Pain. That became a classic.
Not just that's fucked with it, like purely on a material level, but for our generation of comics, everything about it, the tempo, like how, the material was incredible, but just everything about the
performance,
way, the performance
and
style,
the whole thing,
energy
the
of
whole
it,
thing. And it was no bullshit. It came out, a microphone, did his shit, destroyed, blew your mind, and left, and that was it. There was no cheesy music. There was no nothing, and that was a major inspiration for me. So then I just went back, and I had no manager, I had no agent, and I started doing everything that I wanted to do. I started doing, I always wanted to do the black rooms, or as they call them, the uptown rooms. I wanted to be able to do both. I wanted to basically
or as they call them, the black rooms.
Yeah, no, because I always hated the uptown, the
urban,
funky Fridays, whatever they call it. So
aphorisms.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to do any of them.
Yeah,
because I hated being afraid on stage, and I was afraid. I was afraid on stage. I was afraid of those crowds. Like I was beyond. White boy from the suburbs,
right.
And I'd come from Boston, and which was a bunch of angry guys from Boston, which I was.
Yeah.
So there was sort of like a blue collar tour thing to that, where it's just like redneck performing for redneck, angry Boston guy performing for angry Boston guys.
Right.
And then when I'd go down to New York, and it was all this mix of people, I would get really intimidated, and it was really frustrating because it's like I know I can make these people laugh.
You did Apollo.
Yes, I did.
Fucking Apollo.
I did the Apollo.
I got to tell you something. First of all, good on you. I would not do Apollo. That is a fucking hard ass crowd. And I can't remember how you did. I just remember thinking like, holy shit!
I survived.
Well, right? You made it all the way
I
through. You didn't
survived,
get the book.
and I definitely remember standing on the side of the stage watching a couple people get booed, really going like, you didn't really need to be here. You didn't have to do this. I could have stayed in my lane and not done that, but I knew that I had certain kinds of material that
would work.
Well, it was also I wanted to make sure I was saying it right. To be honest with you, like, you know, there's that weird thing where you go out on the road, white comic, white radio stations,
right?
So they
they
don't
put me my audience base. I have a lot of black fans, but it is like a multiracial fan base.
Yes.
And they want to put me on the hip hop station. I'm like, I do not do hip hop material.
Right.
I know I seem like I'm going to match the photos on the wall. That is the only fucking correspondence you're going to have, and vice versa. That you could probably. You could go into a black room and you could destroy. But, you know, I'm going to say something that's going to be unfair.
Or I could get destroyed.
Or you could get destroyed. But I'll say something and you can tell me I'm wrong. I think white comics get a bigger ride. Not a ride. They get
just
almost
say
like
it. It's
free,
easier.
I just think
it's
white
easier.
guys have it easier in a black room than black comics do. If you're a black comic, they want you to do a specific kind of comedy, and any deviation from that line.
That's not true.
That's how I feel. I feel like they're looking for
the first half is true. The first half is true. This is what I end up feeling after a while doing black rooms. Is after a while, I felt like a mascot. I thought,
we have our white boy.
Like, oh, isn't that quaint?
He's adorable.
He's actually funny. So,
hold on a second, please.
We actually have people walking in here. Wow, this is raw right here, people. This is going down. Aisha.
It's okay. No worries. It's okay. I'm not mad.
Oh, this is one of these guys. You tell them to leave, and it takes them 20 minutes to get it. You ever try to hang up with somebody? And that was like that moment when when you're on the phone. Listen, I got somebody on the line. I got to go. And they go, okay, yeah, just let you know, next Thursday. You're like... But anyways, we got to continue this because I think people
I'm really interested to hear your opinion about it, actually.
All right, so this is what this was my journey through the whole thing. When I first went in there, terrified, total culture shock, and I was like, I have to get over this fear. I got to do this.
Right.
And I noticed there was two kinds of white guys that went up there. There was the white guy who acted black, or then the white guy who acted extra white, which is basically the closest version.
Hey, guys!
It's the step and fetching of white people where they're just like, gee, I don't get the slang. Like,
basically, white people are stupid.
Yeah. With either one of those. So my goal was, I'm going to do either. I don't want to do, can I go up and be me and get over? Mm-hmm. So I went up, and the first thing I did is I gave them what they wanted. Any jokes that I had that were racially based,
right,
or me dealing with race, or worried about getting mugged,
right,
all of that shit would kill.
You just kick that door open right at the top.
So
of the
that would kill and destroy. And I was like, okay, so I can do it. It was good. And then the next part was, okay, now can I do my mainstream room jokes in here? And then that was another challenge, which you can do. It's like, so a lot of people have that thought that you have to go in there. Like, I don't know what people talk about out here, but back east, it was always talking about being broke, roaches,
government cheese, projects,
all that type of stuff. And
layaway.
And then you close with 15 minutes of, you ever been fucking your girl, right? and like, the comics who felt this crowd won't let me talk about that,
right,
never talked about anything else.
Right.
The comics who said, I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about, would not only be great, it was like compelling, and it was so fresh to see something different. So,
but you got to kick that. You have to take like that 2 to 5 minutes up top to kick the barrier down. Which, you know what I mean? Like, you've got to get.
But you could actually go on stage and for 2 minutes talk about how you have to do that, and just address the elephant in the room, and everybody is going to laugh, unless you're in an impossible situation where, sometimes I used to do this show at this bar called the Bar Bat.
Okay.
And it was like, they had people up the bell. It was the after work crowd. Everybody standing up drinking. So you had to go in there with,
you just got it like a murderer.
I'm white and I'm afraid of getting mugged. Like, I had to do, I just had to give them what they want. But in a club setting, you can do it. But that stuff that you say about it's easier as a white guy, it is. And it's the same way, the other way, that a black comic in front of an all-white crowd can get away with leaning on the whole, look at this white lady grabbing her purse. Look at her. Anytime.
That's true.
Yeah, so you can do that. And if you have to, Because believe me, I've been on stage, even though I try not to do it, there's been times where I've been bombing in front of an all-black crowd, and all of a sudden I'm tagging jokes saying, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like,
why
I don't
is this
say,
coming out of my mouth?
Why am I saying that?
I never say this shit.
Yeah.
No, I had a whole period when I first started out. I mean, look, we've been talking about this whole time kind of as a subtext, which is that to be funny, you have to be the most fully yourself.